All right, everybody. Good evening to you. It is Sunday, April 6th, 2025, and it is so good to be back in Arizona. And we have a big week ahead of us. I'm Nate Eaton. This is Courtroom Insider. Thanks so much for being here. Please let me know where you're watching from. And if you have any questions, we'll try to get to as many as we can tonight because Lori Vallow Daybell's trial starts tomorrow. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about tonight. What we can expect this week and going forward, as tomorrow will be opening statements and we will hear, we'll get a little preview, I guess, as far as what Lori, the direction she plans to go perhaps with her defense. So here's what we're going to talk about tonight. Of course, opening statements. We're going to take a look back at Lori's opening statements from Idaho. I shouldn't say hers, it was her attorney's. Also, the opening statements of Lindsay Blake, the Fremont County prosecutor who gave the opening statement when Lori Vallow faced a jury in Idaho 2 years ago this very week. We will hear just a snippet as far as the theme that took. Will we see similarities with Trina Kay, the prosecutor in Maricopa County? We will also talk about who is going to testify, perhaps who will be on the stand this very week. A look back at some interviews. This has been kind of fascinating for me. I went back this weekend as I was traveling here and today and yesterday and listened and watched several interviews that were done the day Charles Vallow was shot and the day after and the day after. Lori, Tylie, Adam Cox, the landlord, Alex Cox, all of those people were interviewed. And I just have to wonder if those will be brought into trial. I'm going to play you some clips that I think are really interesting, as well as one that, honestly got me choked up. That one of you pointed out to me, and I went back and watched, and it's just so sad with Tylie. It's just so sad. So we'll talk about a look back at some interviews. Of course, we will remember Charles, and then we will do some shout outs. Your cities, that's why I want to know where you're watching from, and of course your questions. Before we jump in, I do want to talk about the interview that Lori did. Many of you have written me, asked me if I watched it. Lori Vallow sat down with True Crime Arizona, a CBS reporter here in Phoenix, on Friday. At least that's when the interview aired, on Friday night. It was about 20 minutes. You can find it online. It was interesting. And we saw a different Lori. We saw a different Lori than what we saw in the Dateline interview. That being said, this interview was 20 minutes, and the interviewer who did a good job took a very different approach than Keith did. And I think that Keith Morrison had 90 minutes on Dateline and really tried to fit in as much as he could. And this interview was different. I'll just say that. I'll say that. Lori did talk about, one of you asked if I had seen how she talked about how she feels it's her job to minister to those in jail. I have heard that before. I've heard that for years, that she really does that she is very social when she's out with the other ladies. She does their hair, or has. In the mental hospital in Idaho, she was the activities director. She planned the Easter program. She was very social. So I'm not surprised at all to hear her say that she is looking at this as a way for her to serve others, to serve the women around her in the prison. So in the jail. And now we will see what she plans to do tomorrow. So here's how it's going to work tomorrow. 10:30, the trial will begin. Jurors have already been sworn in. The judge will most likely ask them if any of them watched any media coverage, well, hopefully, first of all, they all show up. But he'll say, have you kept the promise, that you said that you wouldn't watch media coverage, you wouldn't talk about it with people. He'll then give the time to the prosecution, Trina Kay. She will give an opening statement. As far as I know, the judge has not set a time limit on the opening statement. Lori Vallow, the opening statement in her first trial in Idaho, I think for the prosecution was around 30 minutes. Here is a little bit. Lindsay Blake did the opening statement, and I want to remind you that they specifically chose a theme for that trial. And I'm curious if the prosecutor here, and we'll talk about this tomorrow night, same time, same place, will take a theme as well, much like Lindsay Blake did and her team did. But here is just a quick snippet, a couple of minutes of the opening statement in Idaho.
Money, power, and sex. That's what this case is about. The defendant, Lori Vallow Daybell, used money, power, and sex, or the promise of those things, to get what she wanted. What she wanted was money, power, and sex. It didn't matter what obstacles she had to remove to get what she wanted. It didn't matter if the obstacle was a thing or a person. And if it was a person, it didn't matter who. Tylie Ryan was a vibrant young woman, 17 years old, a whole life ahead of her. She was just about to enter into adulthood and make her own way in the world. Who knows what she would have become? Tylie had already lost her father, and she received Social Security benefits because of that. Tylie had money. Lori wanted it. Tylie's gone. Joshua Jackson Vallow, lovingly known by friends and family as JJ, was a 7-year-old, vibrant, happy-go-lucky little boy. He had most of his childhood and his whole life ahead of him. But JJ was tough. He's a 7-year-old. He took a lot of time and effort and energy to care for. That time, effort, and energy took away from the defendant doing what she wanted to do, and from the defendant being with Chad Daybell and devoting her time and attention to him. JJ had also lost his father. And when JJ lost his father, he became even that much more difficult to care for. No longer a second parent to help. Not only that, JJ also was entitled to Social Security benefits. The defendant didn't want to have to take care of JJ anymore. She wanted the money. JJ's gone. Tamara Douglas Daybell, known by friends and family as Tammy, a 49-year-old mother of 5, a grandmother, a computer whiz by all accounts. She was married to Chad Daybell. The defendant wanted Chad all to herself. Chad was the beneficiary of a life insurance policy for Tammy. Lori wanted those things. Tammy's gone. This is set to be a long trial, and you're going to sit through a lot of evidence and a lot of testimony. What we ask you to do is be attentive to the testimony and evidence presented. Apply your common sense and reasonableness in weighing the evidence. Give every piece of evidence and testimony the weight you think it is due. Hold us to our burden, and we feel that if you apply your reason and common sense, I'm confident that you will return a verdict of guilty in this case.
I remember that day so clearly. All the reporters were there with our laptops typing so fast. In fact, after the break, the judge moved us around because the jurors were saying it was so loud. And during Lindsay Blake giving that, we saw photos. We saw Tammy's autopsy photo. I remember that. We saw photos of the people she was talking about. Then after the prosecution does their opening statement, it will be Lori's turn to give an opening statement. And who knows what she will say. Again, this is where she can lay out whatever she wants. Jim Archibald did the opening statement for Lori in Idaho. He introduced himself. He talked about his background. He's a criminal defense attorney. And then this is some of what he said.
So this case is about Lori Vallow Daybell. The prosecutor has just told you what the government hopes to prove throughout the next month. So what's this story about from our defense perspective, and how does this story include you? So the evidence will show that Lori was born and raised in California. She's lived in California, Texas, Arizona, and Hawaii. She lived in Idaho for less than a month before the event of what you're here to decide. She's one of 6 children. Her parents are still alive. They're retired. She's had an older sister and a brother die, and she also has a sister and a brother still living. She believes in life after death, and she believes she will see her deceased family, including her children, again. She's a beautician by trade, She's worked hard for years in that profession. She's a mother of 3, stepmother of 2, and is now a grandmother of 2 children. The evidence will show that people were attracted to her, as the state has told you. They've been attracted to her pretty smile, her vivacious personality, her fun-loving, happy-go-lucky personality. People wanted to be around her. Her oldest son is Colby Ryan. He was born in 1996 in Texas. He's a handsome young man, currently lives in Arizona. He has 2 children of his own, making Lori a grandma. Her oldest daughter, Tylie Ryan, was born in 2002 in Texas. She was a ray of sunshine. She had health problems, pancreatitis, painful and debilitating disease, but Tylie did the best she could. Her marriage to Joe Ryan ended, and a painful, long, drawn-out custody battle ensued, and it was hard on all of them. The evidence will show that her next husband, Charles Vallow, was smitten with her, and she with him. He had 2 kids, she had 2 kids, and the blended family lasted over a decade. Lori was such a good, responsible mother to her 2 children that her husband's sister, Kay Woodcock, wanted her to adopt a special needs toddler newborn. The evidence will show she had a particular interest in religion in the end of times. You will recognize the quote-unquote end of times as something spoken of in the Holy Bible, the New Testament. Most of you will understand when I say that. Some people could care less about biblical prophecies. Some people care a lot about it. Thankfully, in this country, we get to worship how we choose. The evidence will show that once Lori and her friends met Chad Daybell, an author on religious subjects, her beliefs began to morph and to change. And that's where you come into this story, because the stories diverge. So we haven't been able to agree on what happened, and we need you to decide it.
So that's about the only mention that Jim Archibald did in his opening statement about Chad Daybell. And really, I don't even remember if Alex Koch was mentioned. One would think that perhaps you could lay out a whole opening statement and a whole defense case that it was all Chad and it was all Alex. It wasn't me. That didn't happen. Again, that's in the past, so we don't have to talk a lot about that. I don't think we will see much. Well, I shouldn't say that. I guess we will see how Lori lays out her case tomorrow. I don't think she will be blaming Chad Daybell. Well, and even if she does, Chad's not facing charges in Arizona. So it is what it is. After the opening statement, so we got the prosecution, we got the defense, witnesses will start to be called. We could have our first witnesses as early as tomorrow. I think we probably will. Here is who the state intends to call. From Chandler Police, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different people. From Chandler Fire, we've got 2. From the Department of Public Safety, we've got 1. The medical examiner, we have the Office of Inspector General, we have Banner Life Insurance, Robin Smith, and then we have 5 civilians. And so that is I believe it's 21 total. And they could spend 5 minutes on a witness. They could spend 5 days on a witness. It really just depends on how the state chooses to present their case and exactly what type of follow-up Lori Vallow Daybell has. After the state finishes their witnesses, again, it could take a week, could take 2 weeks, could take 2 months. I don't think it'll take 2 months. Then it's time for Lori Vallow to present her witnesses. Now, that's where it's going to be interesting, because the judge hasn't really ruled on striking any witnesses other than me. The rest, haven't been served subpoenas. The prosecution hasn't been able to reach a lot of them. It's possible Lori Vallow, Daybell over the weekend sent out a bunch of subpoenas, or they're going to subpoena people this week. It's just kind of difficult to say, but her list includes her. And she did say over the weekend in that interview with CBS in Arizona that she has not made up her mind yet if she will testify. She also is asking for any and all individuals who've spoken with any witnesses. That is very broad. Custodian of records for any and all exhibits, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other people. I don't think we'll have 10 witnesses from the defense. And there's a chance we don't have any. There's a chance Lori does what she does in Idaho, does what she did in Idaho, and says, I don't believe the prosecution has proven their case. And then they go straight into closing arguments, and then the jury has the case. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. Like a lot of things about this case, I could be wrong. So that's exactly the kind of the schedule is what will happen over the next few weeks. Now, here are a couple of things that I believe we will see in this case, or at least if we don't see them, we have the context, the background to see. You think about, we know more now about this situation than any other trial we've had so far. Because we know everything we learned in Idaho at Lori's trial, everything we learned at Chad's trial, and all of the evidence, the data dump that Chandler and Gilbert did years ago because of open records law that the media had requested. We had all requested these things. It was a Friday. I'll never forget it. I was out of town with my family, and I sat in a hotel room, much like this one, and I just went through file after file after file after file. There was videos, audio, photos, all sorts of stuff. And we now know a lot of what was in there. And so here's just some of the video and calls that we could hear. The body camera footage at the house, right when police responded. Lori's interview with the cops at the police station. Tylie's interview at the same police station, separate from Lori. Alex's interview at the police station. Adam Cox did a phone interview with the police a few days after the shooting, and the landlord did an interview with the police on the phone a few days after the shooting. We have all those. You want to go to our YouTube channel, East Idaho News YouTube, we have them all posted in full. Some of them are 2 hours. I'm not going to play them all for you tonight. I'll play little snippets from a few of these, but you want to go watch them in depth and hear the story that Lori told the police that day and see if it matches Tylie's and Alex's and whatnot, go for it. For now, I want to start with the first reaction that the police had when they responded to the house. Officer body camera was on, and I do want to warn you, it's blurred, but we do see Charles's body on the floor as the police are walking through the house. We don't see blood or anything, but just a warning that this is body camera footage from right after the police responded that, July 11th, 2019.
Come out this way, man. You know, no weapons?
No weapons on me.
All right, come on out this way.
Yep.
I'm going to have you have a seat right here on the curb.
Yep. Who else is in the house? No one else is in the house. Okay, just have a seat right there. Let's get FD in here.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
18, seat secure. We got the gentleman out. Have fire rolling. Chandler Police Department, anybody inside, make yourself known.
Come on into the seat and take care.
18, we got one subject down, apparent gunshot wounds to the chest. He's right here in the living room. Firearm's gonna be in the front door, in the front bedroom, laying on the ground next to a case.
We know his name.
We didn't have any of that as of right now.
This happened right here, fellas?
I believe so. The firearm's in the other room here. What's up? I can't, what you say?
to the suite for nobody else?
Yeah, I just did.
Fire over there?
Yep. I'm gonna go see if we can get this. You want to stay in here? I'll see if I get this guy's info.
Make sure nobody else is present.
1, 2, 3, 4 shots, something like that.
Charles is the husband of the occupants here. But I guess he lives where? Houston.
You know his date of birth? He's from Houston.
Yeah. Is this vehicle here? How did he get here?
Is it here from Texas?
No, that's my sister's car. I think he came in a rental car. I think my sister's in it.
I think your sister's in a rental car.
Are you on scene?
Negative on spot. 2 minutes out.
Copy, several gunshot wounds.
There's a couple of shell cases behind me. Probably is.
Attack 3-1 copy.
Shot him many times.
What's the cards?
I'm sorry.
I'll pause there. You can, again, go watch the whole thing. I don't know if you caught it, but they talk about casings, gunshots. Again, this call came in as I just sought my brother-in-law in self-defense. Lori, at that point, is not at the house. And then she shows up. The detective, the female detective who you're about to see in these videos, said in one interview, I believe with Dateline, that it was the most bizarre car ride to the police station that she's ever had with someone who has just lost. Oh no, I think it was in Chad's trial. She testified that Alex and Lori and Tylie were all in the car right after Charles had been shot on their way to the police station for questioning. And they're talking about Tylie going to school and just everyday stuff. She said it was so weird. It was like just an average normal day. Like, not, who cares that someone had just been shot and killed? So they get taken into the police station. And here I want to play you Lori's, a couple of clips from Lori's interview. Again, notice her demeanor. And again, will this be brought in? I don't know. I have no idea. These interviews were not brought into Idaho. Probably because they couldn't get everything in because it was an Idaho case and all these were in Arizona. But these are fair game now and they can play what Lori told investigators. First clip, quite short. Listen to her demeanor as she's walking in with the detective. Her husband has just been murdered, killed at that point. We didn't know it was a murder. And this is how Lori Vallow was at.
You go back to school, I try to talk to the teachers, but in high school they don't care. They're like, you're not here, do the work, or don't. Like, they don't care. They're
Well, and I think
loyal.
with high school, it's like, they're just pumping.
But when she was in elementary and junior high, all the teachers worked with her. They were nice about it. But by high school, there's so many kids that just don't care. And I was like, just take it. You're so smart. Let's just take it and see if you pass it. She passed it. Like,
And got a really good score?
Yeah, she passed it with like college ready in every category the first time.
Well, and now she can do what she wants, so.
Exactly.
She's better off that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know Laura's your first name, right?
Yeah.
Lauri?
Lori.
Okay. And then what's your last name?
Vallow. Vallow.
And your date of birth? And your phone number? And you live at the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, I know this sounds silly, but it's probably the easiest way to start, is just to tell me what happened.
So,
I told you, it's a crazy question.
Well, so we moved into this house 3 weeks ago because he offered to get me a house here where all my family is. So we were in Houston. And so he's like, we had decided to separate or whatever. So he's like, well, I'll pay for a house for you and for JJ and whatever, because he's all about JJ. He's never about Tylie, but he's all about JJ. Because we adopted him together. He's his great nephew. We adopted him as a baby. And so we adopted him as a baby, and so we've been raising him together. And he travels all the time for business, so he's used to just going back and forth. So he's always gone like Monday through Friday. So he came when we first moved in and brought me stuff from Houston, like a U-Haul, and then he hasn't been back. But it's all these threats on my phone all the time, you know, like whatever, all these things. And then he told me...
What kind of threats?
Just... You'd have to read them to see, but he's always mad at me, right?
Okay.
And he doesn't want a divorce, but I don't like him and don't want to deal with him, so that's just how it is. Like, so we married for 14 years, we've dealt with it for 14 years, of him being horrible to her. Like, he gets in huge fights with her, a lot of things. But anyway, so he said, I'm coming Wednesday night, all of a sudden. I want to see JJ, and I told him, I said, I will never keep JJ from you. You can come see him whenever you want to, come take him to school, whatever, like, I'm not going to do that.
Okay, so the detective continues to question Lori. She asks what happened. Again, I'm giving you a very condensed version of these police interviews because they're lengthy. But here's some of how Lori responds and tells her version of what happened that morning. Remember, Charles suspected something the night before because he knew Alex was staying there, and he reached out to Adam, Lori's brother, and said Al's going to be there. And he showed up to pick up JJ to take him to school. And here's Lori's part of what she says happened that morning.
He hasn't been here in a couple weeks since we moved in.
Okay.
He came. He was very nasty when he was there, but he travels for business. So he went back to the Houston house, and he's like, I'm coming on Wednesday night, and I'm going to come pick up JJ and take him to school Thursday. Pick him up Thursday, take him Friday, whatever. And I said, Casey wanted to come to the house. And I said, you can't come stay at this house because you can't get along with Tylie. She's a minor, and she has to live here.
Yeah.
So, because he gets in huge fights up there.
Okay.
And she hates him. He says, come in to get JJ, and JJ's like, I don't want Dad, because he knows Dad took him away, so he was freaking out, right? So I didn't tell him he was even coming, like Dad's going to come take you to school or anything. So he didn't bother me last night, which I was surprised. I was expecting kind of an ambush for him to kind of like come over or be just mean and say, it's my house, I'm on the lease, I'm going to stay here, kind of thing. Because that's kind of his macho attitude. And so he came this morning. I was getting JJ ready.
So he got in last night, but he wasn't at the house last night.
Yeah, I didn't hear from him, except for he texted me and said, I'll be there at 7:30 to pick up JJ.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that was good, because I didn't hear from him. And then he came over in the morning, and he's like banging on the door. I'm like, oh great, here we go, you know. And I was just gonna be nice. I'm just gonna be nice as possible. And I had JJ stuff all ready for school. And so.
Do you remember about what time he got there?
He said he'd be there at 7:30, but it was more like 7:40ish or 7:35. I don't know.
Okay.
But I remember thinking, looking at the clock, and he wasn't there at 7:30, and he's usually Mr. On
Punctual.
time. Yes. So I was like, okay. And then JJ was like, oh, Dad. And then he was like, Mommy, and like ran to me and was like holding me. He's like, you're not taking me to school. And I was like, it's okay, Dad, can just drive you to school, it's not a big deal. You know, just trying to make it whatever.
Calm.
Yeah, calm. And then he was just being real smirky and real like jerky, you know, to me. And I was like ignoring him, whatever. And so he was like,
your brother lives there with you?
No.
Okay.
He had stayed with me last night because I was worried he was going to come over and cause trouble with me.
Okay.
And just wanted someone else there, like my brother there, because I trust my brother. And it's been a long story. Like, I had to go live at my brother's when he took JJ, and, you know, he's just been difficult. So, anyway.
Okay, Lori goes on to talk about Alex, and she's really telling the story in depth. The detective's listening. And then she goes on to say other stuff that, according to her, happened that morning at the house.
Give him his phone. He was screaming at me to give him his phone. He was very worried about whatever was on his text that he did not want me to see. And so I was just holding it there, and he was screaming at me. And I was kind of walking around the house with it, so he couldn't get it. He's like reaching for it and stuff like that. And so Tylie came out of her room upset, and she had a bat, and she told him to leave her mother alone, like, right? So she was really whatever, and he's screaming at her, don't you hit me with that bat, blah, 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 blah. And then my brother heard all the commotion because he was in there in bed, and so he came out into the main room, and I guess whatever.
What's your brother's name?
Alex.
Alex, okay.
And then he just started, he was screaming and he was super upset and whatever, and he's yelling at Tylie, don't you hit me with that bat, and blah, blah, blah. And so Tylie, I guess, I don't know if she swung at him or what, but he like grabbed the bat from Tylie and then went to like hit Tylie with the bat. And I was right there, they were right there, and my brother grabbed him from behind, like just to stop him from hitting Tylie.
You go like this, like he grabbed him like...
Yeah, from behind, like just kind of to pull him back. And then they got into the thing, and he's hitting him with the bat, and they're on the ground, like grappling around or whatever. And then, I mean, it was all
and he
quickly.
And he hit your brother with the bat while they were grappling and stuff?
Yeah, yes, he was hitting him with the bat, like swinging the bat, you know, back and forth, and they were kind of like on the ground, and I was like freaking out trying to go around, knowing JJ was in the car, right? And so then he got up and he had the bat like this towards me, and I was going around the other side to try to just get out of his range where he couldn't hit me. And then I had told Tylie, because she was on the ground, because after he took the bat from her, she fell back. And so I told her, I was like, go get in the car with JJ. Like, I don't want JJ coming in to the house, or, and I wanted her out of the way. I wanted the kids out of the way, whatever this fight was going to be.
So Tylie goes outside.
Yeah, she was outside.
And then what happened?
Then they got up from that, and my brother had like stepped back, I guess, and then Charles was coming with me at the bat and yelling at me to give him his phone still, because I had it in my hand. It was all really quickly. And then when I went around kind of in the circle, then my brother was there.
When you said when you were going around and he was coming at you with the bat, how was he holding the bat?
Just like that, like backwards. Almost in one arm.
Like he was swinging it backwards? He would have done like
he would have swung it backwards at me, not frontwards.
Okay, yeah.
He was a professional baseball player.
Okay.
So it wasn't a good idea for Tyler to get out of that.
Probably not the...
I mean, he played semi-pro.
Yeah.
And he was,
Sorry, my mute button. Can you see why the detective saw the behavior is just a little awkward? The interview continues, and then the detective walks out, and this is where Lori grabs a tissue. I want you to watch this. There's not much audio here, but she gets a tissue, she wipes her eyes, and again, the detective has left the room. I don't know if Lori knows there's cameras in there. Often they're behind glass or concealed. And then she sits like this. It appears she's praying. She sits like this for probably at least 10, 15 minutes in the prayer stance, arms folded, eyes closed. And I mean, you might think she falls asleep, but she just sits there very calmly. So, will they bring in Lori's police interview from that day? I'm curious to see. And if she takes the stand, will they play clips and say, you said this, answer to this? Will they ask her more? I'm not sure. Now Tylie was interviewed. Tylie was interviewed in a separate room, same detective. And Tylie's interview is interesting because she walks in the room, and probably the first at least 30 minutes, she's there alone. No phone, no book, nothing. She's there. She takes her flip-flops off. She's sitting in the chair. There's a teddy bear on the chair next to her. And she starts to hum. And she starts to sing. Not sing, but she's into music. Listen to this. See if you can recognize this song. I'm going to be honest with you. I had forgotten this until one of you emailed me. But here is Tylie on that morning. and she continues to hum. If you've seen Moana, that's from Moana. It's called How Far I'll Go. And listening to it now, it's so sad. One of the phrases, this is how I was reminded to go look. Somebody emailed and said, I'm not sure if anyone's put the song Tylie Ryan was humming while waiting for the police to interview her after Charles was murdered into the humming app, but ours keeps saying it's How Far I'll Go from Moana. I have no doubt with a young child living in Hawaii at times she could be familiar with the song. If it's correct, go listen. The words are fitting and painful. She was humming that song, I wish I could be the perfect daughter. And it's about how far this young girl will go. Oh, just so sad to think about. And then the detective comes in and proceeds to ask Tylie some questions. Again, another lengthy interview. Here's just a snippet of what Tylie says happened that morning.
I woke up probably around like 7:50, I want to say, because I heard yelling from like right outside my door. I don't even know where, but I immediately like jumped up, and I have a baseball bat because when I was living at my uncle's by myself, I just wanted something to like feel safer, and I'm not old enough to get like pepper spray or anything, so I was like, okay, I'll get a baseball bat. So I have that.
So your bedroom, you said that right outside your bedroom door, and I didn't go in the house, so I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage. So what is your bedroom door open to?
My bedroom door open, so the room that my uncle was staying in, the room that's kind of like the guest room, if my room's right here, that's right there.
Okay.
And then my little brother's room, and then kitchen's kind of back here, so it's like a little hallway, and then right here is kind of where everything happened.
Okay.
Like the big, you walk in and...
Like big great room, kind of living room?
Yeah, right now it just has mirrors up because my mom wanted a dance room, so yeah.
Okay.
Kind of unconventional, but...
Hey, whatever makes you happy, it's your guys' house, so...
Right, so yeah, I immediately just jumped up and I grabbed my baseball bat and I opened the door, and it was my stepdad, you know, outside the doorway, and then my uncle kind of in the doorway, and then I could hear my mom behind him, and he was just screaming at both of them, like, I don't even know what he was saying, because honestly I was just too, like wired, I guess. So I told him to take a few steps back. I was like, you're too close, you need to step back, and he was like, don't tell me what to do, and I just kind of just stood there, and then my uncle kind of moved out of the way, and then my mom kind of went past him and into like the big room where everything happened, and so I walked with them, and then I...
So they were more in the hallway?
Yeah, they were at like the end of the hallway, basically, and so my mom walked all the way around, and he kind of followed them, and I just kind of stood. My uncle was like right here, and then my stepdad right here, and then me and my mom were kind of right here. And I didn't do anything with the baseball bat, I kind of just held it there, and he was getting really close to my mom, so I kind of stuck it out like between them, and they were both just yelling, and he was like, if you hit me with that baseball bat, you're going to go to jail, and I just kind of stood there with the baseball bat, and I didn't really say anything.
When you said they were yelling, who was yelling?
It was mostly my stepdad.
Okay.
Well, he was really the only one, like, yelling. My mom was kind of, like, responding, but I honestly couldn't tell you what they were saying. It was kind of just, like, all jumbled up in my head. And so I just kind of stuck the baseball bat out there, and then he just grabbed it and tried to take it, so I held on to the end, and then eventually I fell, and he kind of took it into his hands like he was going to do something with it, and that's when...
So when you fell, he ended up with the bat?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I fell to the ground, and then my uncle kind of, like, I saw him take a step back, so my uncle, I think, grabbed him and kind of took him back so he couldn't, like, do anything.
You saw your stepdad, like, take a step back?
Take a step back, because he was really close to begin with, and then I kind of, and so my mom said to go with JJ, and so I ran out the door, and then I kind of just stood there with my little brother. He was in the front seat of the car, and so I just kind of opened the door and just stood there, and, like, he was trying to get out, and I was like, no, we have to stay in, and I was like, oh, like, I told him, like, do you want to go in the Jeep? And then he was like, no, and then I realized that my car was blocked in, so I couldn't anyways. I was like, okay, like, just stay here, and then eventually my mom came out,
Mm-hmm.
and then we left from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know?
So Tylie was out of the house, she said, with JJ when Charles was shot. But she was a witness to the incident that morning. She's no longer here to testify. I would not be surprised one bit if this video is brought in and that the detective there who's interviewing her testifies about that encounter. And so the jurors can hear from Tylie's mouth what her version of events is that day. I would also not be surprised if Alex Cox's interview is brought in. He was questioned, same department, with a different detective, and here is what Alex Cox said happened that morning.
Walk me through what happened today.
Well, I stayed the night at my sister's.
Okay.
We were planning to go do something fun day. We hadn't really decided. I was thinking maybe I was going to take her to the range.
Okay.
Or go do something.
Okay.
I don't know, take JD to some water park or movies or whatever. I stayed there last night, and then this morning Charles showed up, and I don't know what started it.
And Charles is your brother-in-law. He and Lori are married.
Yes.
Okay.
So he showed up. He was following her and yelling, and then I got between them. And then Tylie came out with her bat, and I had separated for a minute, and then my sister walked around me there in the living room, and then Charles was following Lori and yelling, and Tylie told him to get back. She took her bat like that and shoved him, and he took the bat away. And I said, "What are you doing?" And I got between them, and then he hit me, and I just went down, and when I got up, he was still yelling. And so I went into the bedroom where I was staying, grabbed my gun, and I came back.
Okay.
And told him to put the gun down, or the bat down. And he came at me and was saying, what are you going to do? Like that, and coming to me with the bat. I said, put it down. He wouldn't. He came at me, so.
Okay. So when that argument first started between Lori and Charles,
yeah.
Where in the house were they?
I don't know.
Okay. Where did you first?
I was in my bedroom.
Okay, so you were in your bedroom, and you heard the argument.
When they came right towards me.
Okay, so they were coming down the hallway towards the bedroom?
Yes.
Okay, so you hear the argument, you step out, what's the first thing that you see?
Charles chasing after Lori and yelling.
Okay. Had Tylie already gotten the bat?
No.
Did he already have the bat? Okay.
No.
So Charles is coming towards Lori.
He's
they're
coming towards
your way.
Lori, and I shoved him back.
Okay.
And I said, "What are you doing?" Because he's coming at her aggressively.
Okay.
He's a big dude, so he's not gonna hurt my sister.
Okay. So he's coming at her.
Yeah.
And you shoved him back.
Yeah.
What happened right after that? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
He got back up and he comes right to me, doesn't look at me, and continues to yell at Lori.
Okay.
So he's maybe this far away.
Are you in the hallway of the house, or
right close to the doorway of that bedroom?
Of the bedroom you were staying?
Yes.
Okay. So you're right near the bedroom?
Yes.
Okay.
So then, I don't remember why, he backed up, and then my sister came around behind me, and they ended up in the living room, and then while they're on the way to the living room, Tylie comes out of her bedroom, which is adjacent to the one I was staying in.
Okay.
With her bat.
Okay.
Yelling at Charles. Actually, she was behind Charles at first, and then she cut around in front of him in the living room.
Okay. So he then went back towards the living room?
Yes,
after you shoved him. Did he fall to the ground when you shoved him?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so he falls to the ground, he gets back up, you're blocking between him and Lori.
Yes.
And he basically is talking past you, still yelling at Lori.
Yes, exactly.
What's he saying?
I don't remember.
Okay. So, as you're standing there between them, what happened right after that? Is that when Tylie came out with her bat?
No, he backed up.
Okay.
He yelled something, and then he backed up, and then Lori went by me and around me in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
So he backed up, I had cleared the doorway. So then she came around, and then Charles was behind her, pursuing her again aggressively.
Okay.
Tylie came out, yelled at him with the bat.
And what happened when you came out with the gun?
I said, "Put that bat down." He's like, "What are you going to do?" So "You're going to threaten me?" I was like, "No, I'm just going to defend myself. So you put that bat down." And he goes, "What are you going to do like that?" And he came at me.
Okay.
And he'd already hit me in the head.
Okay, so he came at you at the bat. What was he doing with the bat when he came at you?
It was in his right hand like this.
Okay, so he's holding it low and he's coming at
Yeah.
you? Okay. So you gave him, how many times would you say you told him to, like, put the bat down?
Once.
Once? Okay. And then he started advancing towards you?
Yes.
How many shots did you fire?
I don't know. A couple.
Okay. Were Tylie and your sister?
I didn't see him, so I don't know where they were.
Where's JJ at during all this?
He's already out in the car.
Okay, so he's sitting out in the car.
I think.
Okay.
Again, you can go and listen to that whole thing on our YouTube channel. And again, the question is, will they play that video? Will they play what Alex told the cops about what happened that morning? Because again, he's not here to testify. One person who is here to testify, his brother, Adam Cox, who is an actual witness for the state and who Lori Vallow also put on her witness list. Here is what Adam told the police a few days after the shooting when he's talking about some concerning behaviors that he had seen out of his sister.
And then she started saying some really weird things, and my son moved there and was living with her and Charles.
Okay.
And he heard some of the same weird things that I did. And so some of those things were that she, talks to Jesus in the temple, and she's married to Moroni, and she's not married to Charles anymore, and that she has a higher priesthood than the rest of us, and just some things that were alarming to me. And because I told her that I thought those were alarming, and she goes, "You think I'm crazy, don't you?" And I was like, "I don't know if you're crazy, but none of that makes any sense to me." And after I told her that, she cut me off, and me and her were closer than anybody in the family.
Okay.
And she just stopped talking to me altogether. I haven't talked to her in over a year and a half.
Okay.
And then she cut off some of my family from communication as well when they thought that she was saying some things, and she just went off into some other tangent. And so she's with another group that this is called Preparing for the End or something like that. But the things that caught me that were shocking was her telling Charles that Charles is dead, and she knows that there was another guy named Ned that was living in Charles's body, and he was an inch shorter, and that Charles couldn't fool her anymore because he was an inch shorter. It was really alarming to me that she said Charles was dead and that some guy named Ned was living in her body. She talks about people having dark spirits that she can see, and she knows who has dark spirits and when there's dark spirits around, and just a lot of crazy stuff. And so when I told my family, I was like, "Look, I'm really concerned about Lori. I think she needs to go to a psychiatrist, or something needs to be happening." And my mom and dad had told me, they said, "Well, she's disconnected from reality because that's the only reality that she feels she can live in, and she's not hurting anybody." And when they told me that, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just stay away. I won't try to confront her, because Charles, for about a year, or after they got divorced or were going to get divorced, called me and saying, "I'm telling you, your sister has gone off the deep end." And I said, "What?" So he told me all the things that she had told him, and he would just call me sobbing, crying, because he didn't have the same wife anymore, didn't have the same Lori.
So Lori was exhibiting these signs, as we know, months before this, and Adam Cox will testify most likely of that. We have the landlord for the house also spoke with police and talked about his encounters with Charles, how Charles was so upset, and basically laid out what we already know. We're running a little short on time. I don't want to keep you here all night long, but you can go and listen to that one on our YouTube channel, because that one was fascinating too, that he was stunned that Charles was shot. Charles had told him, "I can't go stay at the house. She won't let me stay at the house." And there's all of these things leading up to this, all of these things back in 2019. It's proven that our memory fades and changes things, and we sometimes forget what happened, but you've got all of these on tape. And that, I imagine, will be what the prosecution, just one building block in their case. And don't forget the texts between Adam and Charles before, all of Charles's data, all the data with Chad, all that stuff we're going to hear over the next few weeks. We are
I
here
also
because
might
of
tell
this
you
man.
that.
Not this man, right there. There you go. Charles Vallow, right there in the middle with his brothers. And just this afternoon on Twitter, Kay Woodcock said, "Justice for Charles Vallow finally begins tomorrow. Been a long, tumultuous journey. My sweet brother watching from heaven. We pray for earthly justice as it's the best we can hope for. We love and miss you lots." And so tonight we remember Charles Vallow as the trial in his case begins tomorrow. Many of you asking how you can watch. Here's how you can watch. We will begin streaming at 11 a.m. Pacific time. That's Arizona time. Noon Mountain, 1 Central, 2 Eastern on the East Idaho News YouTube channel. Go there now. You're probably watching on there, but if you haven't subscribed, please do hit the bell. You will get notified once we go live. We'll actually start the live probably 30 minutes to an hour before, so you can just keep it going on the background. Here is where you can read the live updates. I'll be posting them at eastidahonews.com. Right when the trial starts, because the video, there is a 30-minute delay, but the written updates will happen second by second live. We'll also have the court proceedings on our YouTube channel. We'll be here every night at 8 o'clock Mountain for Courtroom Insider. You can also sign up for the daily Daybell Digest. That's an email newsletter that comes to your email every day at the end of the day and gives you kind of a synopsis of what happened that day. Want to get in a couple of shout outs here before we get to your questions. Amy Vaughn ordered a mugshot shirt. Keep my mugshot off eastidahonews.com. She said to let the gentleman know that she's very single, guys. So Amy Vaughn. Also want to give a shout out to this wonderful couple who sent me a very kind email. And I want to read you a little bit, if I can find it here in my inbox. Donna and her husband, Frank, from Reno. Sadly, Frank has cancer, terminal cancer. They've been watching Courtroom Insider, and I just want to say hi to all of you guys. Thank you very much. And Frank, we're hoping the best for you, wishing the best for you. If you want to get a shirt like Frank and Donna's and Amy's, we have them. We have more than the mugshot shirts. In fact, I'm wearing a mugshot shirt tonight. We've got Ain't Nobody Got Crime for That, Guilty of Following East Idaho News, I Come for the News, Stay for the Comments. Peggy would love that. And then one that says Local News Matters. Go to eastidahonews.com/shop. We'll ship anywhere in the world. So if you're watching wherever you're at, I believe we'll ship anywhere in the world. Maybe there's some places we won't. You can check those out there. Okay, let me give some shout outs here tonight. We got Vicky Smith, Frank and Donna. We just sent the email. Stacy Allen, hi to you. Amy Vaughn, the very single Amy Vaughn, got you in. Terry Griffin, Debbie Wollstonhume, Nikki Twister in Germany, Doreen Marr, Sandy Hiskey, Joanne Robinson, Autumn Eustace, Kurt Burry, and Ken Gibson. Thank you all for watching. Can't thank you enough. We have people watching in Victor, China, and Russia. What? No. That's amazing if so. Nottingham, New Hampshire, Desert Bloom, Canada, Serbia, it's probably cold there, Thailand, Provo, Scotland, Ireland, Idaho Falls, Kodiak, Alaska, Germany, Guatemala, South Africa, Ashton, Idaho, Liverpool, England, Central Kentucky, Pittsburgh, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Switzerland. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. Questions for tonight. Penelope asks, Nate, are you going to CrimeCon? If so, are you presenting the Daybell case? I will be at CrimeCon, yes. And I'm going to be presenting. I don't know 100% yet on the topics, but I'm really excited for one. I just can't announce it yet. And if you go to CrimeCon, I want to meet you, and you can use the code Eaton, E-A-T-O-N, and get 10% off a standard badge. If you go to CrimeCon right now, use the promo code Eaton, you'll get 10% off the standard badge. I don't get paid or anything for that. That's just a hookup for you guys. CrimeCon is in September in Colorado. Erica's going to be with me, and we would love to meet as many of you as possible. Sherry asks if I'm planning to attend the Kohberger trial. Hope so. Been following the past 5 years. Sherry, I will be at the Kohberger trial, yes, and we'll do Courtroom Insider again, and that'll be quite a trial. I'm mentally having to prepare for that one, much like all of these, because it can be kind of tiring. Ellie asks if it was a mistake to tear down the Daybell house. You know, I don't know. And I think people were split on that. Some people were really sad to see it go because it was kind of history, but I think a lot of people were really relieved to have it gone. Otherwise, people would be driving by that property forever just to take a look. Not, that there's anything wrong with that, but I think that a lot of neighbors are glad it's gone and that they're moving forward. Natalie says, do you know if Colby talks to his grandparents, the Coxes? I believe he does. I don't know how often, but I believe he does. He's busy with his life, but I think he's in touch with them. I do have one question. Do you know if Alex's phone data will be used as evidence in this trial? That's from Elizabeth Ann. Let me think. Maybe. That's a great question. It was one of the keys in Idaho. So maybe it will be. Charles's phone definitely will, but I don't know about Alex's. We'll see. That's a question I don't have the answer to. Why is Lori going through all this when she's got 3 life sentences as it is? Good question, Kavita. Maybe she figures she has nothing to lose. Maybe she thinks, well, I might as well get off for the 4th husband one, or she's got nothing better to do with her time. I mean, I don't know. I'm not surprised, and I won't be surprised if she goes through with Brandon's trial too. 2 questions for you from Kathy. In Arizona, if there's as much evidence to find Lori guilty of conspiracy, then why did the police at first just accept that Alex killed Charles in self-defense? I don't know the inner workings of the police and why they did what they did, but from what I've heard, they never closed the case. There was some reporting in the beginning that the case was closed, and they did not close the case. I do know that. It was still active and open, but I don't know why. Have I ever interviewed Lori's first 2 husbands? No, and I would love to. They've kind of vanished, and I know that the national media has tried to find them too, so if anyone knows them, have them contact me if they want to talk. Chelsea says, where jurors are allowed to ask questions, can they ask why Tylie is not there as a witness? I don't know. That's a great question. Good question. Will cameras be able to zoom in better on those talking in court, from Samantha? Well, there's one camera and it's at the back of the room. And so you're going to see a lot of backs of heads other than witnesses. You'll see their faces and you'll see the judge's face. We can't do anything about that. I'm sorry. That's per the judge's order, and that's how it has to be. So I'm sorry. I wish we could do better. All right, everybody. Here is where you can follow me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please reach out and follow. And we'll be back here tomorrow morning. Lori Vallow Daybell finally going to trial in Arizona. We'll have all the coverage. In case you can't miss it or just want to recap, join me tomorrow night live from Phoenix, taking your questions, taking your shout outs, doing what we can to bring you the news. I'm Nate Eaton. This is Courtroom Insider. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.